He's
Jeff,
not
what I
available.
would suggest is we can maybe switch the agenda around, and if that's okay with the chief. And hopefully by that point he's on.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I know when I talked to him earlier, like last week, I told him, about this, and because he can't, because he's not on this way, he's on by the phone. He said he was gonna watch it on the TV.
See, what happens when you watch it on TV, there's a delay. So
Yeah.
then the interaction is delayed. So he'll see it and watch it, but he won't be
Yeah.
able to real time interact with us.
All right, and we're still waiting for Johanny, or is she on board with us here?
She's not on yet.
And then do me a favor, give Johanny a call. Do you have her number handy? See if she's having
I
trouble.
do.
Must be spring fever.
It is beautiful out there.
Hey, how are you? I just resent another one. And it did go through. That's probably your connection. Try moving closer to the modem, if you can. Yeah, I know it's given me a challenging time. We'll call it that. Yes.
Linda, even if she has to call in as an attendee and you can promote her.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you want to try dialing in so you can. Okay.
If it's helpful,
Yeah.
the way that I got in was to go to the website and to click on the public link on the agenda. And then Shelley was able to transfer me. That's my journey into today's meeting. I don't know if that's helpful
Yeah,
for
we're
her.
seeing the website. Yeah. There's when you open the agenda, there's a public link that you can click. And then we promoted her to a panelist. Correct. Oh, Strat just dialed in. Okay. Okay. All right, got you. All right, bye-bye. Okay, Johanny is going to dial in. She's having a connection problem.
All right, great. And Strat's on board now. So we'll give
Yes, he's on.
Johanny 2 minutes. We apologize to everyone for the delays.
I'm sorry, am I on now?
Yes, Strat.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
I see Johanny's in now as well, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, great. So we have everybody on board. Let's get started at the top of the agenda. And that's going to be the update on the 9th and Marion fire station. The playground's been shut down and they're starting to dig up. So Chief, maybe you can give us some insights here.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. Along with me, Stan's been a big part of the project, and you'll see on here Tony Ganguza, He's from Boyle Construction. If you recall, back in April, they were brought on as our project manager for the project. He's on board here, as well as Evan Gray from Man's Woodward Studios. They're the architect on the project. Along with Stan, our internal team, I can't say enough of how well the collaboration's going and how well everybody's working together to ensure that we're not missing anything. I think everybody's stepping forward, pointing out when something gets missed, somebody else picks up on it. It's been extremely productive. We started, after everybody was on board, we started back in October of 2020, starting on the design schematic and all of it. If you recall, in January, both Tony and Evan, they put forth a presentation to the administration as far as the schematic designs and the drawings and all. And I believe it, following that, that was all shared with all the council members at that point afterwards, that you all had that. It was at that point in January where we then entered into the construction document development phase. And we've been like since April, we've been plugging away every 2 weeks on the project and all meetings, mostly virtual, but at times when needed, we've been meeting in person. So with that, in April and in March, everything was put forth to the zoning hearing board for the several variances that were needed. We received them approvals in early April. Also in early April, then what the necessary documents were sent to the Planning Commission and to PennDOT, County Planning Commission. All we met with late April, I think I forget the exact date. Late April and all, we met with the zoning hearing board. We're still, I think, while we're addressing most of the minor issues that were raised by them are being dealt with. The big thing we're working on is waiting for the final PennDOT approvals before we'll get any kind of final approval from the, from the Planning Commission. So we'll be waiting on that. But at this point, I think what we can do here, and I'm going to try and do this. If not, Evan's going to jump in with sharing a walkthrough video. It's amazing the technology these days that can be done. So there's a walkthrough video, about 10 minutes, that was created by them, where we could do a walkthrough of the entire station, where it was, and also everybody could see where we're going. One of the things to remember, and one of the reasons why Man's Woodward was brought on, is for their expertise in fire station construction and their understanding of the fire service needs of these days. Primarily, a lot of that focuses on safety and health of the members that work there. The elimination of reduction of cancer causing the carcinogens, both from apparatus and the off-gassing of gear upon the return from calls, and also the mental health of personnel. So on the cancer end too, a lot of the focus on newer stations is to separate the areas in the stations to like hot zones where the contaminants would stay, the warm zones that would be in the middle, to cold where no contaminants would be brought into the like living areas of the stations. So you'll see this compared to some of the older stations we have, how it's separated out in these different zones. And also, as you talk about this, the health and mental well-being, it's more of a compartmentized, like a 1 and 2 bunks in a bunk room compared to the dormitory styles that were used in the past. That adds to that. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll see if I can get this video going. What do I gotta do here? Did I just bring it up here? Will I?
Yes, you can screen share.
All right, let me see if it works. I don't know how. Is that up or no?
Yeah, click on the green button.
Not yet.
Okay, hang on one
Hey,
second.
tomorrow I'll walk him through that.
Hang on. I knew this one. Okay, so I gotta hit the screen share first and then,
Correct.
yeah, but to get into my files now. You know what? It's probably gonna be Evan. Do you want to just?
Do you want me to do it?
Able to
too?
give-
Yeah, I can screen share.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
it's probably gonna be easier for Evan to do it if,
One moment.
as he's setting that up, the video will start on the exterior of the building, which is seen, and then go through the main entrance off of 9th Street into a lobby area there. And then we'll go through the first floor.
One moment, guys. Just getting it. Okay.
Okay,
Can everybody see my screen?
yep,
Yes.
yep,
Yeah.
that's up.
Good job, Ed.
Okay. I'll begin.
Thanks, Evan. I believe this is almost just about 10 minutes in length, the video then. One of the things that was added since then too, you'll see the flag poles and the planter on the intersection there. The main entrance is direct in front of us as we'll enter through the lobby area here. This is this area is just a lobby for visitors to come in. They won't have access to the stations through the rest of the station till they're allowed to. As we step through this door, this here is pretty much like a watch area, a computer area where there'll be computers there and for the members to do reports and report stuff will come through. As we step here, we're now into the engine apparatus bays. As talked about, three bays. There's going to be a ladder truck in one, an engine, and a reserve ambulance behind that, and then a frontline ambulance with a reserve engine behind that. As we enter into the northwest stair tower here, the poles comes down the middle of the stair tower. Because of the size of the station, it comes to a mezzanine level area that's split on both sides of the apparatus bay. This first area on this side of the mezzanine, this will be a gear storage area, which is pretty much will be the storage for our quartermaster system. Will be in the use of this area. The pipe in here, this is for the apparatus exhaust system that from the lines that are connected there. And now we'll go back down to the apparatus bay floor. Whereas we're going to walk across the floor here now and enter into, as we talked about the cancer presumption, as the members come back, there's a tier 1 and 2 level of decon areas. This first area will provide gear washers and drying area where they could dump their gear into the wash machines that are located on the right here, and then the dryers are on the left. They would then enter into the level 2 where it's just a shower. There's I believe it's 2 showers provided here, along with some lockers for just some basic clothing that you could change before entering back into the living spaces. As you get here now, this is the storage, the gear storage area where the gear will be stored for numerous members. One of the things we looked at in the design of this too is looking towards the future. So this is designed to accommodate 40 lockers. Right now, at the present time, there would only, even with, if we would include ambulances, you'd be up to 24 members assigned, and then maybe some additional personnel, but we're looking, as it may expand in the future, as this is projected to last out 50 years, that could take additional personnel assigned to the units in the station. Also on the first floor will be a small, very small day room area to watch TV for the members that are on that level. most of our living space is going to be on the second floor. So we'll come out of this area and now go through, back through and into the stair tower. There's an elevator right off. This is back in the main lobby. There's an elevator there that is for ADA compliance. As we go to this stair tower now, we're going to go up to the second floor. This would be on the southwest corner of the building at the intersection of 9th and Main. So as you enter the second floor, you come out into the hallway here. There's going to be one big thing taken into consideration that they really pushed upon us is the use of natural lighting, which you'll notice more throughout the building and all. This first room that's off to the left is going to be a study area for members that are studying for promotionals and stuff like that. There'll be accommodations in this room for that. One thing, as we get into the day room now, you're looking, it's a day room and a kitchen combination, open forum to that. Off to the right, it's pretty much in an O on this floor. And as you get through this, you're going to notice there's a courtyard in the center then of the O here, where they'll be able to grill, and there's picnic benches outside in that open area. And then we'll continue around the outside corridor. One of the things you'll notice as we do go down the corridor, as we're moving along, is the use of the wall space for lockers that are built into the walls. Again, thinking of the future for the numerous up to 40 people assigned to the station. And even as we look at that, you know, the rooms that are there, although there's only like four members at the current time on duty, during like snowstorms where we double up crews and assign an ambulance out there, you're going to have 10 to 12 people even now during the winter times in these stations. So that's been taken into consideration here too, even at the current time, even though we aren't staffed up. The rooms on the left there are, and the bathrooms, there's 4 of them on that side, a combination bathroom and shower rooms. This here's the fitness room, again with view and doors out into the courtyard in the middle. Again, back to the bathrooms are everything's being designed rather than men's and women's are all going to be gender neutral with locks on the doors, all 4, same as the bunk rooms and all. As you go down this back corridor of that. Again, the lockers will be built in, making use of the wall space. You're going to see numerous monitors throughout the station too. A part of it right now is the sharing of CAD information that's coming from the comm center on screens. That's going to be in various parts of the building, the engine rooms, different rooms through the monitors, that can be shared and members are seeing information up to date being sent by the comm center. As we get into this other side, the left is going to be the officer, either a chief or a station officer. That's assigned, that's their quarters on that side, with a conference room, small conference room here on the right side of the station. So that pretty much completes the O. This is in the chief's quarters there, as there would be 4 officers sharing that area. Once we get back down, we're going to enter the poll hall that's in the southeast corner now and go back down to the main floor level, and we'll exit out the rear and take a look at the rear station from the outside. Again, the pole, because of the size, the poles will be transferable at the mezzanine level, so that way they aren't as steep. You see the bay door, the rear bay door goes out the North Mill Street, which isn't that large. The use of that's either going to be reserve ambulance will be kept out that door. We're not gonna be, it's not gonna be able to be a drive-through station, but we could use that on the rear, either a chief's vehicle or like the reserve ambulance will be at that. But one of the things that I'm sure you've seen is the streetscape. And this was something that they brought forward for parking and all, as we were looking at, and that's also something that could be looked at when we do look to the other side of the street and all, then with the land swap and all, and that's something too that can be done. So this will go into a nighttime, you'll get a night view of it, of the station, and the lighting and all that comes into play. So again, I mean, it's amazing the technology and what they're able to do, that we were able, gives you a better idea of what the station's gonna look like and all, without even just looking at drawings these days, be able to do this walkthrough. There's still some work to be done, a lot of work to be done here. We're looking at some, there's gonna be some note of City of Reading or Reading Fire Department or something added here, just haven't figured that into it yet. So that's coming in the future. Let's see, what else we got going? As we're moving forward here, we're hoping to be ready by June, late June, to be able to start looking to bid this out for the construction, with the anticipation of somewhere, hopefully mid to late September is where we're looking to move forward on the construction of that. And go ahead. I'll open it up to any questions anybody has at this point. Evan, Tony, or Stan, if you just want to jump in anywhere or anything I missed, feel free.
No, good job, Chief.
Okay.
Chief, this is Strat. I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Strat.
Well, looking at these pictures now, I'll tell you what, you know how many years I've been fighting for this project, Chief?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
I wish Joanne was around yet to see that, because it was due to her visiting the station when I was first elected years ago, and she had to go upstairs and use the ladies' room, that it really turned me on and turned her on. Actually, she was on my back all the time after that visit. And, I kept in contact with the people out there. And I know, well, this weekend it'll be a year that she has passed away. I just wish she would still be around to comment and thank everybody that was involved in pushing this through. Many times we thought it was going to go, and there was always somebody throwing a monkey wrench into it. But I'm glad, Chief, and I'm glad, well, thank you, and I'm sure if she was around, she would really thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate all your efforts and all the help you've been on this project. One thing else that we can jump into here is we recently we're approaching the 90% design development stage, as Tony worked on the updating the budget at this point. I think everybody's understanding of the economy right now and the increases in things. This pretty much pushed from the original budget that was pushed back and put forth back by Boyle, that was done by Boyle back in August of last year, was roughly 8.5 million for the project. It's up another 500, a little over 500,000 right now. We're at the 9 million of 55,788 right now was the most recent budget that was just recently done by Boyle on this. And again, I believe it was pushed, a lot of this is based on the economy in all these days, what's been going on here. So other than that, again, I'll go back. If Stan wants to chime in here, feel free. Evan, Tony, anything you just want to add? If not, we'll open up any questions anybody has.
Council, additional questions? Anybody? Lucy?
Hi, good evening. That really is fantastic to get that level of presentation and appropriate use of technology. So thank you so much. My questions really are more around the environmental impact that this proposed building is going to present. And it was interesting to see the night vision. Because as you, right when you remarked, Chief, that this is going to have spectacular lighting and a lot of windows, which I think is beautiful. I thought about what is this going to look like at night? Because one thing that we talk about is light pollution when we're looking at environmentally, how does something, impact our community, and also sound, because I noticed that there are several houses right adjacent to, and obviously there was a fire station there, so this isn't new to the neighborhood. But what considerations have been made for those aspects, perhaps for the immediate neighborhood surrounding? In addition to, the original footprint there has been removed and this building is going there. And are there any implications for stormwater or anything like that? Could you answer some of those questions for me or provide them at a later date? I would love to know.
Chief, if you mind,
Go ahead, Stan.
I'll comment to that. Lucine, taking your thought process one step further, when Chief and I first met with administration, going back into the June, July, August timeframe, and Jamar was there as well, we were looking at the cost factor. And one thing we wanted to do was build to LEED certification, where you can't afford to be a true LEED building and go through all that extra, because it would be just way too expensive. However, you would see in the design and the construction of this that we're using renewable materials, number one. We're emphasizing LED lighting. We're utilizing probably the highest efficiency heating and HVAC system that's on the market. We're also putting a white roof on. The amount of light coming in to the building really saves us energy as well. We looked at possibly going to other types of renewable energy. However, gas is the most efficient for us in this type of operation. So following along those lines, that's where we are. Number two is the stormwater. We had very little impact in terms of stormwater. Actually, we have a smaller footprint as this design is than what was previous. Previous was about 95% asphalt coverage. We're about 67, 68.5% coverage. So we are giving a little bit back. So along those lines, but addressing your concern about the lighting, it was actually not going to be as portrayed, the light invasion into the neighborhood. It's going to be brighter, guaranteed. It should be. But you're not going to see that. That was more drawn as an aesthetics, number one. Number two is in dealing with Evan and obviously Tony and the team, we're making special allowances also to the house that's adjacent to the north, even the sets of houses, to make sure that whatever we're doing, we have enough of a setback that we're not going to cause any undue sound. They're still going to hear the alarms for obvious reasons, but we've also made sure we have a true heavy duty sound containment on our generator, which is not there now. So there's a lot of little things we're doing to try to make sure that this is a very good neighborhood friendly firehouse.
Counselor, if I could add, Stan, I'll just jump on as far as the sound. I believe the difference, we have a 6 foot, I think it's roughly 6 foot separation between between the house that's there on the north end
That's
and
right.
the station. Where 6 foot, Tony, right?
Yep, 6
Yeah.
foot.
6 foot there. And if you look right now, we're attached to the property to the south in the current station. So that's a step forward in itself there, as we move into this.
And to speak to the technicality, sorry, Chief.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Evan.
And to speak to a little bit more on the technicalities of the lighting side, the video illustrates what the front facade looks like with full bore, all lights on. The reality and the functional capacity for that to happen is pretty limited. Of course, you could go into each room and switch all the lights on in the middle of the night, but all of the lights are relayed to time clocks, which because of the LED technology and that Stan mentioned, it allows you to have default settings. So between like 8 p.m., 8 a.m., you could have a setting that says nighttime mode, where if you hit a switch, only 50% of the light volume comes on. And then also photo cells. So a lot of the exterior lighting and general public right-of-way lighting is relayed to just basically absorb the ambient light and then to adjust the throw of the lighting temperature, so you're only casting minimal foot candles on the walking space. Obviously, there is special detail to lighting response pathways through the building and down into the apparatus bay floor, just so the first responders aren't tripping over themselves as they're making their way to the engine bay. But those lighting sources are also relayed to shut off after a certain time if no other occupant comes in and out. So you can't have a call, let's say 11 at night, everyone goes to the call, comes back, and someone forgets to turn on the light and it just sits there all night. That's not going to happen. Eventually, it would power down or go to 0.5%, capacity or whatever it is programmed to. So that, really allows us to double down on both energy consumption and how much lighting is being thrown out into the building.
All right, additional questions, anyone?
Yeah, Jeff, Marcia,
Yeah.
and I think Johanna had her hand up. Johanna, do you want to go first? Okay. So sort of building on Lucine's question as far as the neighborhood goes, I know how there's special lighting on the street on Lancaster Avenue. Will it be the same type of street lighting for when the engines come out? Because that is somewhat of a busy street on 9th Street.
Yes, there will be, Counselor. They'll be on both the north and south end, flashing yellow lights put there that can be turned just like they are in Lancaster Avenue there. And also we're going to put one on the that faces up Marion Street on the opposite side. So we'll be coming to you for the approval, because we need the approval from you to send that to PennDOT. So that'll be coming forth. I'm not sure of the exact time. Tim Crow will be working with us to help us with that. And also we'll be coming forth with that, I would say within, the next couple of weeks or next couple of meetings.
Yeah, and I didn't say, but this was absolutely an excellent presentation. You really can feel what the building's like. The one thing I kept thinking about, though, as far as are there going to be gender specific facilities, or are they basically, for male and female, considering we may have female firefighters?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to point out when we were on that second floor. There's 4 bathrooms. All the bathrooms will be gender neutral with locks on the inside, same as the
Okay.
bunk rooms and all. So that way we don't have to worry about, his and hers, men's and women's issues.
Okay.
And all.
The bathrooms have been designed by intention that you store your personal effects either in your dedicated bunk room or in the lockers out in the corridor.
Right.
When it comes time to shower or whatnot, you retrieve your effects from the locker and then you take it into one of the 4 general neutral bathrooms. And that way, you have a dedicated spot to do all your, cleanliness keeping. And it kind of simplifies the whole situation. And also it helps the chief we eliminate planning down the road. One of the tough things for the fire service is, if you have dedicated bathrooms, what one year's gender population might be different than next year. And sometimes you have vacant spaces or overused spaces. So the implementation of gender neutral eliminates that, and you're able to allocate your maximum real estate 24/7, 365.
That's great. Thank you.
One thing we didn't talk about, I don't know whether the chief may have mentioned it briefly, was that there's going to be a generator on site as well, a gas generator that's going to be able to keep the station going should there be some type of outage. The station can then act as a place for the city, to hold other functions and or meetings there during those times. So that's a sizable investment that the city's making for that station.
All right, Johanny?
Yes, hi. Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions. One, what is the timeline? When do we begin? And when is the completion date? And then the second question is, what are we doing with the existing firehouse? What are we doing with that particular building?
Chief?
I can address the timeline if you'd like, Chief.
Go ahead, Tony.
Sure. So it's our intention to start the bidding process probably the middle of June, third week of June. And we hope to conclude that and have our bidders at least selected probably within 2 months of that time frame. So probably August. And by the time we have contracts for contractors assigned and work with the administration's legal and purchasing department, I would suspect that we're hoping to start construction sometime in mid-September, mid to third week. And we're expecting a 12-month construction period.
And as far as what's going to happen with the present site, I know we had conversations. I don't know if Abe wants to jump in and take that, but I believe I could say that the administration is looking to put some kind of playground on that site, demo the building and go forward with that. But I'll let Abe take that one.
Yes, Chief. Many things have been considered for that location, and playground is definitely one of them. And I think that would certainly warrant further discussions on it. I don't know if Public Works would like to add anything to that as well, if they have anything that they'd like to share.
Yes, we did some preliminary numbers on the remediation because there is mold, there's asbestos, quite a few other things to there. Plus there's ADA compliance issues that we would need to address to get to the second floor for allow adequate use. Some of the preliminary numbers that we ran were close to $4 million to rehab it, and you're still not going to get the effective use that you're going to need. Some of the other items we looked at was not only a playground for young children, but also maybe 1 or 2 apparatuses for the grandparents then to use as well. And which we want to make it more of a community-centric park. There's so many people that are the grandparents who are pushing the carriage or whatever else because of the harsh realities of COVID and the like. So we're trying to make it as inclusive as we can to all ages, and then again make it an ADA compliant as well, because we want to make sure that everyone is included in usage.
Okay, additional questions or comments, council members? Donna?
First of all, thanks for the presentation. I agree with everyone. Now, it was really, you really felt as though you were walking through it. And those things are both astonishing and really welcome for us. Regarding the old fire station, understanding that that's probably cost prohibitive, looking at our funding and what we need to do with our funds in the city and prioritize. Chief, I think you had mentioned that anything firefighter related would likely go to the Firemen's Museum, South Penn. But I would also ask that anything architectural there, doors, windowsills, any kind of embellishments that might be exterior or interior, that you guys work with the Center Park Artifacts Bank to have those salvaged. And again, understanding, I hate to see any building come down. It disappoints me to see it come down. I understand the cost constraints, but anything that's fire related to the Fire Museum, anything architectural to the Artifacts Bank, because at least the building can be somewhat memorialized by utilizing and showcasing.
There are some things, the fire related stuff that are going to be incorporated into the new building. We just haven't figured out yet, like the guys want, like that light that's outside the current station. It's not going outside this one. They want that inside somewhere. Sure. If you look at the symbol up in the at the top of the building there, and all. They're looking for that inside somewhere. Yeah, and
Great.
there's some of the pictures that stuff already went to the fire museum that were from the interior.
Could you, Chief, could you or Stan or someone have someone from the Artifacts Bank walk through with you guys? And this is again regarding things like doors, any panels, things like that, that would not necessarily fire related, but would have some degree of interest to salvage that you're not using in the new station. Could you reach out to them and have them walk through with you guys?
Yeah, we can most certainly do that. You know, I'm not sure how many of the doors are going to be, because if you recall, remember the station was redone back in the mid '80s where they changed.
You might be surprised what they would be looking at. And
Okay.
since it's going to be demoed anyhow, salvage what we can.
Yeah,
And all that, all those funds then go back into the city. So it's helping everyone. Thank you. I'll mention it to the folks there as well.
Okay.
Out to us anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions for the chief or anyone, Lucy?
Yes, I thought of two other questions. So first, as the dialogue went to what are we doing with the parcel across the street, it's always my prerogative to do community engagement. We may have spectacular ideas, but as this project has come along, it's always nice to do that direct outreach. To say, oh no, we go to 11th and Pike all the time, so we don't need another play, you know, or we like the soccer field there, so we want this specifically at you know, at this location if you're thinking of a playground. So I hope that, you know, we can do that. But more importantly and more pressing, you mentioned that there's going to be an increase, and we're looking at $9 million. Is that correct for the project cost? And I'm sure that's relative to COVID and cost of materials, and et cetera. I think what's really important is to break down the funding for this project and what that's going to look like for the public, so they know exactly where and what funds are being used in that strategy, so that we're very clear and transparent about that for the public.
Yeah, and we could do that. I mean, roughly just, I talked with Jamar about the increase, and he said we'd take a look at that as we look to do our 2022 budget as far as the increase. But if you recall, there was the talk of the RACP grant and all, that's looking to cover like $4 million of the cost. And I don't know if Abe wants to speak more about that. The remainder of it, there's like 1.8 million in the capital improvement already. There's if you recall, and this was looking to use 2.5 million out of that construction fund that was created a couple of years back when both these station projects were first talked about. There was 4 million put into that construction fund. So this was looking to use, so that's pretty much where the funding breakdown.
All right, any additional questions?
And just quick, back to Councilor Helmick. Did we cover all your questions that you had from the first time there? I think Stan covered them all. Okay.
Can I make one comment in terms of the cost factor? If people would remember, if you're looking through the building as we're doing the walkthrough, you're going to see in there cement block walls. We wanted to do that because number one, the durability, but number two is the cost factor. If we would have to put steel studs up and double drywall and the like, the cost would rise. So everybody on this team, which has been a remarkable team, has been very cost conscious. There's been times, well, that's too expensive. So we go, no, let's try a more effective alternative that's going to give, number one, be cost effective. Number two, going to give us 50, 60, 70 years of life as well. We picked LED lighting that's going to be hang on the wall versus recessed, because number two is then you have to look at what's the cost of maintenance for the facility as well. So those are some of the great things by working with Mans Woodworth and Boyle's Construction has brought to light.
Okay, thank you, Stan. Marcia?
Yeah, and this is just a comment, being part of the Recreation Commission, and we had quite a lot of detailed discussion. And I think the best plan, as unfortunate as it is not to reuse the building. My one thought is because you're gonna have a small playground next to a fire station, that maybe the playground equipment could be fire truck specific. And I was looking online, you can find things like that. It might be something that we might be able to raise funds from the community to be able to support. So the kids can make the connection between the playground they're playing on and have things that, kids love that kind of thing, playing, firemen, everything like that. So just a thought as we move forward, and I certainly would bring it up with the rec commission as we look for actually purchasing the equipment for the playground.
Okay, are there any other comments?
Council President, this is Frank. I just wanted to share about the playground. There were some questions about what is going to happen with the playground at 9th and Marion. Obviously, as we know, the fire station is going there, but because that 9th and Marion playground originally was paid for by DC&R monies, we're going to have to find another location for the playground. So we're taking a look at where the existing building's at, where it's no longer going to be there. That is going to become an open space. So we're taking a look at that area to see if we can put some kind of open space there. We don't necessarily have to replicate exactly what's at 9th and Marion playground, but we have to do something that's open space oriented or something that's in the benefit of the community. And as Marcia suggested, what we're going to do is we're going to get obviously some feedback and input from the rec commission, but we're going to hold a public meeting to see what the neighbors want. Because we tried to look at some other parcels in the neighborhood. Really, there's not much open space there. But we'll definitely provide this information to the rec commission, and we plan to have something maybe at 11th and Pike in the near future to get community input on how we proceed.
All right. I think that's it for questions and comments. Is that correct? Okay, thank you guys for the in-depth update. We appreciate it. We look forward to September and awarding a contract and get the process going.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right. The next item on our agenda this evening is just going to be a very brief update on the 275th anniversary of Reading. I think, Donna, were you going to speak to this, or was Frank going to speak to this?
I'll start and then Frank will pick up. Okay. All right, Frank? Sound good? Okay.
Yes.
Well, everyone, be ready to be involved because we are looking at the Reading 275th, which will occur calendar year 2023. 275 years from the date of the founding of the city, and the founding date is actually March 16th, 1748. Correct, Linda? Linda, double check.
Correct.
So what we're looking at a city-centric lead to the celebration. The celebration will actually start officially New Year's Eve 2022, ending officially New Year's Eve 2023, hopefully with fireworks. Hopefully we'll be back to that tradition. Our goal here is a very basic one, to honor the history of the city from the very beginnings. Everyone from, and I will be having a meeting with a committee of Indigenous folks who's long preceded those of us of European background and other backgrounds to the city. We will have folks of every ethnicity, nationality, orientation, age, being a part of this, from folks whose ancestors were here way before the incorporation of the city, from the earliest of days, to the person who most recently stepped in the city because they choose to live here because it's a beautiful place. We want the youth to be involved because they will be the ones making the history going forward. We want to honor the elders of every ethnicity, of every persuasion, as we look to the past of this beautiful city. Right now, we're looking at a steering committee. The mayor will be the chair of this particular endeavor, and the steering committee will include 3 members of the mayor's choice, and Frank will go into that. There will be 3 members representing council. Linda Kelleher will be a part of that team, myself and Marcia. But please don't feel, if you're not on that committee, that you're not part of it, because we have room for everybody and we're going to need everybody. We have, and Jeff Waltman, our council president, due to time constraints, will not be serving actively on a committee, but will be sort of ex officio, and he will be any decisions need to be made, if Marcia and I are not available or Linda's not available, he'll be stepping in. And also to represent all three branches of government, our auditor, Maria Rodriguez, has agreed to be part of the steering committee. So we're really happy she's there. We're looking at 16 different committees. I'll quickly go through them, and we will probably have more coming to the fore. We have a diversity committee, industrial and commercial committee, historical committee, architecture and buildings, medical and higher education institutions, sports and Reading, entertainment and the arts. And I can say as an aside, the Reading Theater Project will probably be creating and producing some plays regarding Reading's history. So that's a very exciting part of it already. Hospitality involving all the hotels, restaurants, bars, from the oldest to the newest, and that's extremely exciting because it is because of them that we have the fraternity and a fellowship within a city where people gather. Sister City will be looking at involving Roylingen, Reading, England, and hopefully the mayor's hometown, marking the mayor being the first Latino mayor of our city and his hometown in Puerto Rico. We have a marketing and publicity committee, a conservation / Mount Penn Pagoda / Antietam watershed committee, because much of our city history and the influence of conservation throughout the country really was born on Mount Penn and often at the pagoda itself, as well as the mother tree at Antietam Lake. And 2023 will be the centennial of the mother tree observation, which really was celebrated internationally at the White House and locally, of course. Fire and first responders 2023 also marks the 275th anniversary of the Reading Volunteer Fire Department, the oldest one of its kind in the nation. We're looking to Chief Stout and retired Chief Rare for ideas on this, and working with the Reading Firefighters Museum at Fifth Memorial. The faith community, we're looking for them to be entirely involved. That's certainly one of the strongholds of this city, has been the faith of the folks who have lived in it throughout these 275 years and preceding that. Education, we're looking to partner with Reading School District, the private and parochial schools within the city limits, to celebrate and for the children to understand what happened and why this area is so historically significant, not just locally, but to the entire country. Again, the youth, we're looking for the Youth Commission and youth, and as many young people as possible to join us. I can work hand in hand with the Education Committee. And finally, fundraising, because we will need some funds to move forward with this. We want to look at a lot of events. One of the joys of this that we have already talked about is our flag in front of City Hall that is often raised to mark special national celebrations. Our goal is through census data to find as much as we can about every nationality represented within the city. And if we can raise a flag a week to celebrate everything from Czechoslovakia to Nigeria to India to England to Ireland to the Dominican Republic, you name it, we want everyone to feel that they're a part of this. And we may even perhaps have the flags of those particular countries that are represented by our residents strung across the front of City Hall. And I think the concept will be, of course, the mayor's concept of we are each other's neighbors. We have a lot to celebrate in the city. By 2023, we're going to see a lot of movement, change in the downtown and everywhere else in the city. And it is time to celebrate and for everyone to celebrate. Inclusion is the name of this. For those who, several people have reached out already. There's already movement with the Architectural and Buildings Committee. They're starting to get organized, but we want everyone to be involved. Everyone to be involved. No one's going to be excluded. So please reach out to the council office, to the mayor's office, to the managing director's office, to the auditor's office. We have a very diverse group already. I think Frank wants to basically touch on that about the steering committee members and who they and what they represent in terms of where we all come from. Thank you, Frank, for your help in this, and Abe as well.
Sure. Okay, well, thank you, Don. You seem to cover everything, so I don't have much else to offer, but thank you very much. But the exciting thing is it's the city's birthday, right, in 2023. So it just won't be one birthday day, March 16th. We're going to celebrate the whole year, from New Year's Eve, as Donna suggested, 2022, to the end of the year, 2023. So it's going to be an exciting birthday party that goes on more than one day. As Donna said, the theme is really to honor our diversity, our past diversity, our history of inclusiveness, and really looking toward the future. As she suggested, really looking for strong youth participation, because they're the ones that shape the future. So we honor the past, and we get excited about the future. So Donna did mention about the steering committee. So the way it's going to work from organizational structure, because this is a pretty big to do thing. We haven't done this in a little while, for almost 25 years, and there's a lot to this that requires a lot of planning. So the steering committee is going to be set up under the concept is it's going to provide support, guidance, and pretty much oversight of the whole anniversary celebration in 2023. So the official celebration is obviously being led by the steering committee, which is the elected officials, the mayor, city council, some key staff, and our city auditor. But certainly, as Donna says, there's room for everyone. We need strong community support. So as she mentioned, there's so many committees that are integral to make this happen. So I think what we may do in the near future is maybe create an email address specifically for this anniversary committee, so we can recruit or use as a line of communication for people who want to be interested in being part of the committee. So we'll work on that, and then we can put like a press release saying, and of course, that doesn't stop anybody from reaching the council office, the mayor's office, managing director office. Still do that, but I think it'll be nice to try to centralize this too. So more information to follow. As for the steering committee, the mayor has himself. It's going to be Christian Crespo on the administration side, who is our communication coordinator, and myself. Then council has 3 individuals, and we have Maria Rodriguez, our city auditor, being the 7th person. And when Don and I were speaking this morning a little bit about what we're going to discuss this evening, is it just happens to be that our steering committee is very reflective of the history of the past and where we are today. If we, for a little background on people's individual backgrounds, we have people who have the Pennsylvania Dutch heritage, which is one of our original settlers. I guess, Donna, you're from the Pennsylvania Dutch ethnicity background. And as you see the progression, I have the Eastern European, the Italian background. And then you see that our mayor and Christian, they have ethnicity from Puerto Rico. And then we have Maria Rodriguez, who's from the Dominican Republic. So you see the progression.
And we have Marcia with a Russian background.
That I almost forgot. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So, and that's all part of our history. You know, the Russian and from the Jewish culture, they're integral part. At turn of the century, all the synagogues were here in Reading and had a very strong presence at turn of last century. Still have a presence, but they were one of the original settlers. You know, so it's been exciting. So it just happens the steering committee is very reflective of our history, of our past, and where we're going now. So it kind of worked out really well. So it's very, very, very reflective of that. But that's pretty much, like I say, Donna really covered everything else. So basically looking for that strong community support to help us with these committees, these work groups, and we'll be more information. I think, Donna, we met 3 times so far?
Yes,
is that about right?
We'll be expanding, and we'll also, as these committees start forming and they themselves expand and develop their programs and their ideas, we'll be working with them. And again, we still have to determine in terms of fundraising how we will work on that, what kind of mechanism we'll use. And Maria, we look for advice from you with that, as well as everyone else, because there does need to be some kind of backing that we can use to present these events, and we have to determine how we will go forward doing that. And when we say it's city-centric, we also want to make sure that everyone feels they can be partners with us, from the History Center to the Medical Society to you name it, to the Centro Hispano, to the spiritual community. We're looking for everyone to be a partner here. So we just feel this will be the timing we hope is really right for a beautiful celebration of our history, of our diversity, of our future possibilities. I just think, it's literally right now the sun is shining on the city, but I believe it's going to be shining a whole lot brighter as we move forward. And we want to celebrate everyone. We want everyone to celebrate each other and to celebrate us.
One question, Don, and one thing we could probably maybe seek for some immediate public input is a logo or some kind of
Yes.
a theme, how to brand this, because it was branded into the last celebration. So that would be helpful. Maybe that's something the community can help right now to help us tell
Right,
a
right.
wonderful story. What logo or theme or branding can we
Taking
use?
suggestions, absolutely. And that's something with the steering committee and marketing publicity can work on. Ideally, folks, we'd like to have some kind of kickoff in terms of announcements, formal development of a calendar of a structural calendar, but not the definitive calendar, but a calendar of major events. We'd like to try to kick that off at the end of Jazz Fest 2022. So that would be spring of 2022. So the planning and the committees, everything's got to soon start kicking off. But I think there's a lot of already enthusiastic people, and I believe we can meet that goal of having a calendar of events ready, of major events ready by 2022 spring, at the end of Jazz Fest time. We're also looking, we want to try to bring back into the city as well things like the Armed Forces Day Parade. It's the oldest one in the country. It's over in Wyomissing and West Reading now. I had some preliminary talks with someone over in West Reading. There seems to be a willingness that it could start in the city and go across the bridge. I think that would be nice to bring that back in 2023, start maybe at 5th and Penn and work its way over to Wyomissing. I think there's a lot of things we have to look at, our heritage, things that maybe have not so much slipped away from us, but have changed, and what we can do to restore confidence and restore some of those activities here in the city.
Okay, Frank and Donna, thank you for the update. We'll open up to questions. Johanny, go ahead, please.
Just for clarity on the dates, did you say kickoff spring 2022 and then it'll conclude spring of 2023? So it'll be a year long of celebration?
Well, we'd like to do by say an event at the end of Jazz Fest 2022 is to publicly and officially announce, here are the events coming up that we can have scheduled at that point. But the official kickoff will be hopefully fireworks at the pagoda, if we can make that happen, New Year's Eve 2022, and possibly an event at the arena. One of the gentlemen from the Convention Center Authority already suggested that to us. Maybe 10 years ago, Marcia, we used to have a big event at the arena as well as fireworks. So we had a lot of people downtown. That's been broached to us by a member of the Convention Center Authority already. So the official kickoff would be New Year's Eve 2022. The end celebration, the finale would be fireworks New Year's Eve 2023. So we want all of 2023 filled with activity. So Johanny, we're looking at you too, that hospitality committee. So we're hoping you'll be a big part of that.
All right, additional comments or questions, anyone? Okay. Thank you for the update, and we will move forward now with the agenda this evening. The next item is going to be the agenda review, I believe. All right, and we have listed 45 minutes. Well, it might take us that long, but let me get to the agenda, and we'll go from there. Here we go. First item for discussion this evening, we're going to have, first of all, we're going to have Pastor Jerry Jones from St. John's Missionary Baptist Church for the invocation. We do not have any proclamations or presentations. Linda, you did send us an email on public comment. How many was that?
We have 2 comments in writing.
And that's it?
Correct.
All right. You're all right with reading them, or do you want a council member to read
Yes.
them? Okay.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
All right, thank you. So under the approval of the agenda and minutes, we're going to go to the consent agenda items. There are just 2. The first is an award of contract for citywide traffic signal operation and maintenance program to traffic planning and design in Pottstown for a total cost of $415,640 over a 3-year period. This is being administered by the city with a PennDOT ARLE grant, ARLE grant, under the terms of the agreement and PennDOT publication 740 as a local grant project with an 80/20 reimbursement / cost sharing. Did somebody want to give us just a kind of a brief recap on that? Just so we all understand, the funding and what this contract does.
Tim Kroll was going to join us.
Yeah, I'm here, Stan.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to briefly explain what this is all about. You may recall that last year, City Council approved the mayor's signature on an agreement for the ARLE, ARLE grant that came from PennDOT for $228,000 to do a downtown traffic signal optimization. It's been 2 decades or longer since the downtown traffic signals have been looked at, retimed, and adjusted to current traffic conditions. And that's what we want to do with this grant. And in addition to that, Public Works had PennDOT collaborate with the city to do a citywide traffic signal assessment and review, and kind of a report card on how we're doing on the 130 traffic signals that the city of Reading owns and operates. Wasn't too good. Our traffic signals are in need of coming up to standard permit conditions, let's say. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've got a 3-year program that PennDOT helped us to work out. And we need a traffic signal firm, a good qualified traffic signal firm to help us do that. And our selection team picked out of the 6 firms that presented proposals to Public Works. We picked what we thought was the best ones. Wasn't the cheapest one, but it wasn't the most expensive. It was about the 3rd. And we think that their program is the best. They have the best blend of municipal experience as well as PennDOT and technical expertise. We've worked with traffic planning and design before, and they're a very good firm. And I'm happy to see them come on board and would be anxious to work with them. And just to let you know, the ARLE grant is just 1/3 of the project. The other 2/3 is the citywide traffic operation and maintenance plan. So to let you know where the rest of the money's coming from, right now we're looking at the capital improvement program. However, what we'd like to do as we move into some projects is to rely less on the CIP and more on liquid fuel funds. And Stan and I have been talking at length about this. And in fact, PennDOT's coming in tomorrow. We're going to go into more detail as we get further into this program. It's a 3-year program. And then rather than tax the CIP, we'd like to pull it out of liquid fuel funds where we have more of a surplus for that. But I'm anxious to get started on this and look forward to improving our traffic signals citywide.
Oh, okay. Any questions, anyone for Tim regarding this contract? Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, so, well, as you study the traffic signals, what about problem traffic areas? Are they going to be part of the study, and will there be potential additions of traffic signals as a result?
Right now, the only additional traffic signal that's on schedule is with the River Road project out at the Schuylkill Avenue Bridge.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right now, we're not looking at adding any traffic signals, but certainly we will be in the downtown footprint area, that downtown corridor. We'll be looking at improving safety conditions, both for vehicles and pedestrians. That's the main focus. And the good news is the traffic planning and design, their quote came in about $100,000 less than what we had estimated. So we're going to be talking with PennDOT to maybe expand the footprint of that scope area to maybe include South 5th Street, North 5th Street, Center Ave, to see where these problem areas may be occurring even beyond the downtown area. That's our goal, is to make all these signalized intersections safer.
And Jahani, may I please? There's also the question of Second and Buttonwood. That's on the agenda for us to tackle this coming non-COVID year. And there's another one as well that we are looking at that's on the books to get done, but because of the schools not being in session, it affects the count alone. So if that's what you're going to.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stan. Yeah, that was 13th and Pike is the other one too. We have another one. We have those already scheduled for study. And unfortunately, we won't be able to do that until after the school is in session.
All right, any additional questions, anyone? All right, if not, thank you, Tim, for the overview.
Jeff,
of the-
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, I had my hand up.
Sorry.
Two questions. This might be somewhat of an odd question, but Tim, does this also consider the traffic and scheduling of the train and how that affects the traffic backup patterns and the signals?
I would hope it does. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I'm going to make a note of that. And I'm going to ask traffic planning and design to
Thanks.
make sure it's definitely in the downtown area. So I would hope it would include that.
Right. Okay. And thank you.
I can answer that with my Norfolk and Southern understanding that sometimes in the delay in their scheduling and their arrival and departure times, it can affect the downtown, as you well know, with the backups. We are working with Tim and the group, and then McCormick Taylor, because we're going to have new arms put into the downtown area as well within the next 2 years. We were able to, in Public Works, working with Charlie, to move up from the 2028 timeframe to 2022.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, it's an important piece, I think, of the evaluation because it impacts traffic. My other question is a little selfish for District 1, but what about Lancaster Avenue, Route 10 intersection? Because it's not downtown, but it's a feeder, it's a gateway, it's an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So where is that on your projected list and priority list, gentlemen?
As far as retiming signals right now, it's not on the list, but as far as making sure that all of those traffic signals meet permit standards, that definitely is on the list. All those signals on Route 10, on Lancaster Avenue, those are part of the 130 in the assessment project. And we will be addressing them to make sure that they are up to standard.
And following up, Lucine, also knowing that 422 is being widened.
Yes.
And there is special emphasis on PennDOT to assure us that the 10 Lancaster Avenue ramps are correctly timed with the flow, because that is within Berks County, the heaviest traveled intersection in the county.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because I know that initially when they had started talking about the highway renovations, they had talked about bypassing and creating a second route parallel to Lancaster Avenue through the residential area of Millmont, and how that would further impact the livability, walkability, and just quality of life and safety. So it's something that I'm glad is on your radar, but it doesn't sound like it's an immediate need, and that it's an ongoing. If anybody is over there at any time of the day, it can't not be addressed. So thank you for your attention to that matter.
The sad thing is the West Shore bypass project now has really been pushed back because of PennDOT's priority to interstate systems. And it's certainly nothing's going to happen before 2027, if not much later than that. And I think that's a real disappointment for all of us. And you're right, Lucine, that whole Route 10 intersection was going to be entirely revamped and reconfigured. And we're looking a long time till that happens, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I don't mean to derail the topic from what we're speaking about, but because we're talking about, looking at downtown and these studies, if there's nothing planned on even evaluating or alleviating the traffic flow for years to come, we really need to be brainstorming around what are the little things that we can be doing to make it safer and to make it navigable, and moving forward. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions on this contract? Go ahead, Marcia.
Yeah, and this is a follow-up to the comments, because I know we all have areas within our district that we would like to be able to have traffic lights. It has nothing to do with awarding this contract, but it does have to do with us having a dialogue with the community where, for whatever reasons, we can't move ahead for traffic lights, how we improve safety at those intersections then. Because I think there's sometimes a sense that as council members, we have all this power that we sit here and we can make that happen. And it's not within our purview to, especially on roads that are owned by the state, to have that kind of influence. So then people think we're not doing our jobs because we haven't protected public safety. So I think the next step we can do is to make sure that the discussions happen and how you make these intersections safer within our realm of influence.
Okay, are there any other comments on this specific contract? All right, if not, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. And that is going to be a resolution authorizing the addition of a new 2021 bank account for Fund 47 at Wells Fargo to receive funding from the American Recovery Act. I think it's self-explanatory. I'll let Jamar give us any additional information he feels we need to hear, if there is any. Jamar?
Thank you, Council President. That's the gist of it. This resolution would create both a bank account and a new fund titled Fund 47 to receive and separate the American Rescue Plan funds that we hope to receive. The first tranche is the parlance being used this week. As soon as this week, we're expecting that.
And by the way, I know, because I know the question is going to come up, once the funds are in that fund, it will require council's approval to move those funds.
Absolutely. And those regulations were just received today. I was literally reading them before the meeting started, about 151 pages to comb through over the next couple days.
Gotcha. Okay. Question.
And then we'll be right. And then we'll be ready for questions.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Just Jamar, just a typo on the type of account, accrual versus accrual. So just my eyes catch these things. And second, are we going to be scheduling time then to have the discussions in terms of what the intended plans are once you've, I guess, gone through all those pages?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Johnny, I was expecting the next week or two, we're going to definitely be doing that. Now that these guidelines are out, I would encourage everyone to take a close look at them. I'm hopeful that tomorrow and the administration can recap them for us as well. Abe and I did talk about this last week. There's going to be some time limitations and some restrictions, but again, I'm as blind to this as anybody else, but hopefully now that we've got those provisions, we'll get an understanding, and there's going to be a whole soiree of ideas, I'm sure, and we're going to listen to the administrations first, and then we'll all have input on what we feel is the best application of these dollars. There are a number of outside entities that are probably already inquiring, and that's perfectly okay. We're going to have to be able to discuss that as well. So there's a lot to be gotten through. So to your point, Johanna, yeah, we're not only we're going to have set time aside, but continuously set time, because that's not going to be an easy process till we get it down to the full agreement level. This is going to be something that has to be whittled down a bit. Go ahead, Johnny.
And also, does that include a timeline, like when money should be spent? Is there a timeline?
Well, I'm assuming some of that's built in there, but we're going to hear more about that as they decipher this for us. And I would also encourage those who have time to read 150 whatever pages to do so. A lot of it's fluff, I'm sure, but you know, there's
yes, there's no shortage of footnotes.
Yeah. So we'll put it all on Frank's back, and then we'll go from there. No, I'm only kidding, Frank. But it's going to be a pretty, I mean, I don't expect us to fully agree out of the gate on where we should use this and how. I think we're going to be pretty close. I think the administration is going to come to us with some constructive ideas, and then we may have some beyond that, and we're going to have to negotiate across the aisle here a little bit and figure it out. So I'm confident, boy, it's certainly good to get money instead of losing it. So we certainly want to spend it judiciously in the most investable way we possibly can to get a rate of return. I have mixed feelings about this. Some of this CARES Act money, I mean, it's a lot of money. And from a council person standpoint, I'm glad we're getting money. You know, as a citizen, I sometimes concerned how much money we're spending, but we've got to make sure we spend it effectively. And I think the administration feels that way as well. So, okay, so that will just establish that account. That account will be the placeholder of the money. And again, it will require, a council action to move dollars in and out of that account, whether it's approving the funding or awarding a contract or whatever that may be. Remember, we do control the use of the funds in conjunction with working with the administration. Obviously, the mayor has a lot to say about that, so. Okay, if there are no other questions on that specific issue, we'll move on to the administrative report. We have Abe with us this evening, as well as Frank and Maria as well. And then we do have a brief report from the Environmental Advisory Council, Scott Case, and who's the other individual? I'm sorry, I can't remember the first name.
David Bean.
David, yeah, David. Okay, great. All right, so then we have a number of ordinances for final passage. We have 3, 5, 7. The first one is amending the City Code Chapter 77, Part 1, Police Department by amending the experience requirements for the position of captain. I believe there's been a request to table this for now.
No, not this resolution, but the following one, Council President.
So that one's okay. All right. Any comments or questions on this ordinance? Okay. The next.
Giovanni has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Johnny. I'm sorry, I couldn't see.
Just more of a comment.
Uh-huh.
If the second one will be tabled, there's verbiage included in the first one that's related to the second one. So are we going to make that distinction?
What specifically, what specific verbiage are we referring to?
The college component.
Mhm.
The same verbiage is in the requirement for promotional purposes from, we're changing it from sergeant to lieutenant to captain?
Yeah, that was
There's
removed.
a-
That language was removed from that one when the ordinances were, when it was split to 2 ordinances.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading through it, there was still the strikes were still across the college requirements on the actual.
No, it was removed. This is just that requirements, not the, doesn't cover the college boards.
Correct.
Why is it being tabled again?
The mayor once had pulled, we had a very healthy and robust discussion earlier today with the chief, and the mayor just feels very strongly that the college requirements should be counted, and he wants those included.
So we're tabling it for further discussion, or?
I think we're just pulling it all together. The request is to pull it all together. If you want to table it, it's the same.
All right. So you want to remove that ordinance from the agenda?
Consideration, yes, sir.
All right, so we'll do that at the front end of the meeting when we look at the agenda.
Exactly.
We'll go to Marcia and then Johanna.
Yeah, and that was my question, was it's procedurally that we really shouldn't table something if we're not going to vote on it, so that you need to do that at the beginning of the meeting. And then I was looking at Johanni's question about the references, and I think we just need to be really careful that the first ordinance may have language in it, even though they say it's been struck. I'm not sure it's still consistent with what we want to accomplish.
All right, well, Johanny, go ahead, and then we're going to clarify.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now as it is printed or is on the website, and
Right.
it's striked. So I'm looking at page 29. If you all want to look at what I'm looking at. And for both sections, sergeant and lieutenant, those references are striped. And also on page 30 is the same.
Right, and that was assuming that both ordinances would do something at tonight's meeting. So I don't know about Anna, but I think that's a fix that I can easily make since we're withdrawing the other one.
So it'll be made prior to us voting?
No, that I can do that as a correction after the vote on Bill 31 occurs.
Well, let's amend it. If we're going to vote on this first ordinance, let's just amend it to make those changes, Johanny, so you're
I
comfortable.
agree. Yeah.
But
All right.
the ordinance only speaks to the experience.
Mhm.
It-
But what is
it's
she,
up to you.
I don't have it in front of me. If
don't
there's something that needs to be cleaned up, well, we can amend it to make sure it's clarified. And then it's the second ordinance we're going to remove from the agenda. Is that correct?
Right.
All right, just because we've spent so much time on it, whatever makes everyone comfortable, I want to make sure we do that. So,
That is correct, sir.
okay. Any other comments or questions on this first ordinance? Okay. Go ahead, Lucy.
Sorry, I'm not fast enough tonight. I have to drink a cup of coffee before we start our regular meeting. Because there seems to be a lot of confusion around this, can somebody quickly just, because I don't have it in front of me, outline the experience, right? So that we're not confused. I don't want to misspeak here. What is the experience requirements that we are amending?
So what we're looking at changing is currently you can get promoted from sergeant to captain, the way the ordinance reads. What we're looking to do is just remove that provision so that you are required to be a lieutenant first. There's a lot of experience that you receive at the level lieutenant that applies to being a captain. So we're just taking that skip out and then requiring that 2 years of your total supervisory experience are in the patrol division before you can be promoted to captain, so that you get the experience in our largest division, the busiest division. And that's where our crime initiative, community engagement initiative is conducted, so that you have a good understanding of it.
Thank you,
Right.
Chief.
Good.
Okay, so with that in mind, if there are no other questions, we're going to move on to the third ordinance, and that is amending the zoning map by moving 226 North Fifth Street into the same zoning district as 230 North Fifth Street, also known as the Medical Arts Building property, into the same commercial zoning district, commercial core zoning district. As part of the project, both properties will be combined into a single parcel for the commercial uses and residential apartments. You guys covered this in the hearing last week. I actually listened in as well. Were there any comments or questions at this time? All right, if not, we'll move on to the next ordinance, amending the zoning map by moving 654 through 660 Schuylkill Avenue into the same commercial neighborhood zoning district for a mixed-use development. As part of the project, the properties will be combined into a single parcel for convenience store / restaurant, barbershop, dwelling units, and a shared parking area. This was also discussed last week. Mr. Pepin, at the hearing, are there any comments or questions on this specific ordinance? All right, if not, we're going to move on to the next ordinance. Is amending City Code Chapter 351, loitering, obstructing public places by renaming the chapter loitering and panhandling, replacing a diversionary program to be used to address aggressive panhandling or loitering when it's reported to the Reading Police Department, or when police officers encounter it, and eliminate the possibility of a prison sentence. Comments, questions, thoughts on this specific ordinance? Donna?
I just want to thank everyone who worked on this. Again, this was done and re-examined. The existing ordinance. It was a request from the police department to give them the tools needed to be able to help folks to make the downtown and make all areas of the city treated equally regarding aggressive panhandling. And there's a difference between the homeless, between passive panhandler who does not act aggressively towards folks. This is, I believe, shaped into a very fair recreation of this existing ordinance with a lot of good input from law enforcement, social service folks. This is to me, this is a helping ordinance. This is not only helping the police, please keep our areas safe, but also to help people who are down and out, and maybe through diversionary programs, help them get on the right track. So again, I thank everyone for it. It took a while, but I guess all good things take time. So I'm hopeful everyone can be supportive of this. Thank you.
All right, additional comments and questions? Go ahead, Lucy.
So first, I think I'm challenged a little bit by the way the ordinance reads. So I just want to break it down and unpack it a little bit. The action that we're taking first is renaming, right? So we're going to rename this chapter instead of obstructing public places, loitering and panhandling. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then it says replacing a diversionary program to be used. And I'm
That's
struggling
just a
there.
typo.
Okay,
That's
so
a
what,
typo in the heading.
okay, so how
That's
should it
in the
read there?
heading. And that's just in the heading, not in the ordinance.
Okay, and so the second part of the action that we're taking on this ordinance is replacing or bringing in the diversionary program.
Correct.
So we're renaming and we're bringing in a diversionary program. I just wanted to make that very clear in terms of what this ordinance is doing. The
Right.
second comment that I have is that I had requested the last conversation we had around this because of feedback regarding how do the police determine or identify an aggressive panhandler? I wanted to hear specifically what that criteria is for the training for the police department to be able to decipher between somebody who falls into the criteria of an aggressive panhandler in which this proposed ordinance would apply. And I haven't received that. If it's possible, I'd like to receive that, even just verbally right now.
Chief, can you help us out?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I was trying to get my mute button to work. So basically what the aggressive panhandling entails is an individual who is out obstructing businesses, obstructing traffic on the sidewalk that has been asked to move along and they haven't. So it's that repeat person who is out there on the regular basis or over a period of time that is just aggressively going after folks on the sidewalk. It's a tough, you're right. It's a tough thing to define. It's not like an instance where we have like in some of the harassment ordinances where there's a course of conduct that's defined somewhere as in 2 times, 3 times, things like that. But that's the best explanation I can give to you. That's the training we're going to provide to our officers. This isn't just the folks who are out there asking for some money. These are people who are being disruptive in their conduct out there on the sidewalks or in a public place.
All right, thank you, Chief. Are there any
Thank
other
you.
questions or comments? Go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, and I think because of how, as all ordinances do, it evolved, there's still a perception, and I think it needs to be stated very clearly at our meeting, that people are going to be incarcerated for aggressive panhandling, and that's not the intent. But because there is a perception, I think we need to be able to continue to educate the public and to also educate about what diversion is, and that the police have historically diverted folks, and that they aren't all about incarcerating everyone they come in contact with. They are our public safety officers. So those are some of the comments I feel I need to make because of some unfortunate misrepresentation of what this ordinance was about.
All right, any other comments? Go ahead, Johanny.
Just for the sake of educating the public as well, we have a list of diversion programs and potential partnerships in place.
What we have is an agreement with Hope Rescue Mission to use a program, expand a program they're already using for that community. So they'll do the assessment, the psychological assessment, and then follow through with the community service if that's the direction the individual wants to take.
And one thing I just wanted to add was that we're not putting any of these specific programs into the ordinance, obviously, just to give ourselves a lot of flexibility. If we find that different partnerships work better, we don't want to have to go back and revise any legislation. So we're keeping that. It's for our own option of administering the program and keeping more control over how it's run.
Thank you.
All right. If there are no other
Jeff, just to
questions-
follow up to that, and this is a question for Chief Tornelli. I think it's for public education. Police officers do receive training on how to identify and refer people to appropriate services.
Yes, we just did an example is the Blue Cares Next Step program. Our officers receive training on that, how to identify folks who can get diverted to that program. They've had training on the marijuana diversion programs. All those different diversion programs that are out there. There's a number of them right now. So this is just another one of them that we would provide them information on. And again, I don't anticipate this being used very frequently because there are other ordinances, other state laws that apply. And again, if we're in a situation where we encounter an individual, we're required by law to use the most appropriate section of an ordinance or the crimes code or the vehicle code. So this would be for very specific, very few instances, but it gives us a tool that we currently don't have.
So when we go out to vote on this, Chief, if you would be available, because I want to ask the same question to have it on record at our public meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions on this ordinance? If not, we're going to move on to the next ordinance, and that is Bill 38, which is authorizing the appropriations transfer of $40,634.03 from project blah, 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 fund balance to project in the general plant supplies to make the Samuel Potter Trust donations available for use during the current fiscal year. Basically, this is transferring it from the fund balance to the project account under general plant supplies. Questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to the final ordinance, and that is authorizing the amendment to the 2021 budget revenues reflecting the increase of $1,427,667 in general fund revenue pursuant to the recently negotiated cooperation agreement with the Reading Parking Authority. Comments or questions on that specific ordinance? All right, if not, quickly go through the new ordinances. We have 3 of them. The first one is amending the city code section 576-403, parking prohibited in specific areas by adding the requirement to park inside parking stall lines. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that. Does somebody want to give us a high-level overview of this ordinance, at least for now? And we can get some general questions.
The executive director of the Parking Authority will be joining us at our next committee of the whole on the 17th to go over these 2.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of questions on that one. Whew. All right, the next one is amending the city code section 576 by adding a fine of $45 and an additional 10 and 30-day penalties, each in the amount of $22.50 for parking outside the parking stall lines. So we'll look forward to speaking with Nathan about those next week. Is that okay with everyone? All right, and then the final ordinance for introduction is authorizing the total transfer of $99,000 from the general ledger rental parking authority to general ledger contracting services to provide funding for special counsel to the planning commission to provide specialized legal advice relating to the subdivision and land development projects, review of ordinance amendments, agreements, and resolutions, and general legal matters involving planning and zoning. Can somebody just give us a brief recap of that? Is it Jamar?
I believe we brought Dave Paris on to address this one, Council President. Thank you.
Okay, Dave, would you like to give us an overview, please?
Sure, I'll be happy to. And I believe that Jamal, the CD director, is also on and may have some additional comments, but I'll go ahead and give you the overview. The reason for this transfer is to assist with the use of third-party consultants in reviewing development applications. As you know, there's been a greatly increased interest in development, both residential and commercial mixed-use developments in the city, especially over the past year. And the department has engaged planning and legal consultants and the process of engaging engineering consultants to assist with the review of applications and plans and agreements as well. And the purpose of this is to really make the applications the best that they can be. We also want to make sure that we're protecting the city's interests by having these agreements that will make sure that all improvements that are proposed by developers are actually going to be constructed properly we're really taking a long-term look at these projects to make sure that they're going to be implemented in a way that will best serve the city's interests. So that's the that's the reason for this. And if we want to get into any more detail, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just also wanted to add the funding for this reallocation is going to be coming from those parking authority funds, additional revenue pending final passage tonight.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Johanny.
In the near future, are we also looking to explore maybe potential or additional funding for HARB? I know that in some of our conversations with Center Park and HARB, it seems like she's like the only person that deals with the historic district. So I just want to put it out there so that we're mindful of identifying maybe funding to also enhance her scope of work and expectation.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And one of the things that we've looked at internally is ways that we can share the resources that we have available, not only from outside consultants, but from the staff that we have. And I've been working closely with the Historic Preservation Officer, Amy Johnson, to look at ways that we can share our administrative staff, for example, to help and ease her burden somewhat, and try to make sure that the people who with the expertise can do the things that require the expertise, and shift some of those other tasks around to those who can help. And the community development department's been very helpful and open to the idea of sharing those staff resources.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, additional questions or comments, anyone? All right, if not, we will move on to resolutions. And I believe we have two this evening. Both are appointments. The first one's going to be appointing Serenity Plaza, representing Council District 5 to the Youth Commission, and Elta Jackson Henry to the Diversity Board. We'll have a chance to comment or question at during the meeting. Does anybody have any immediate need to speak to those appointments right now? All right. With that in mind, before we adjourn, is there anything else that we need for public discussion at this time before we take a break and go to our public meeting? Go ahead, Johanny.
And I apologize for going backwards, but just something that I have written down, I forgot to ask, and this is more for Chief. I thought there was credits for military, but I didn't see that anywhere in any of the ordinances, unless I've missed something. So I don't know if that's something that needs to be addressed or not.
No, the military points is only used at the time of hiring. It's not used at all during the promotional process. So it's still intact as a veteran's preference for hiring officers. It's just not used in the promotional process.
Thank you for for clarifying that, Chief. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments before we, Maria, do you have your hand
Yes,
up?
please. I'm sorry that I'm going back, but it's for the Bill 38, 2021, authorizing an appropriation transfer the 40,000. This is, I think we should ask legal for an opinion on this, because this is money that was given to the city for an estate. So it's coming from the state party. So I think we should be looking at the procedure on this, if the money is okay to be allocated to Fund 31.
Okay, are you asking for a little time to look at that, Maria?
Yes, if we would like to have an opinion from legal to make sure we're doing this the right way.
Okay, administration, no objection to that, is there? There's no immediate, I mean, we'd be okay in 2 weeks or so? Want to make sure Maria has.
We'll be fine in 2 weeks. I wish it would have been brought up sooner, but certainly that's fine.
Yeah,
okay,
that's fine.
All right, so with that in mind, is there anything else
you.
for, so we will make a motion to table that if somebody can do that, ordinance 38. And then we'll revisit it after Maria gets back to us. I want to make sure she has the time to take a look at it. All right. Are
Jeff,
there any other
what was she talking about?
ordinance 38? Strat,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I just needed a clarity. Is that the one you're speaking to, Maria, or is the one that's being
Yes.
introduced?
No, that one, 38, 2021.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
38. Yep.
All right, any other comments for public, any necessary comments for the public right now? We are going to be in a public meeting anyway next, so if you have an opportunity to speak there as well.
Thank you.
All right, so it's 6:52. Let's start off at exactly 7 o'clock. So everyone should try to be in the meeting by 3 or 4 of, if possible, please. So we can get started. You should log in early and then continue on with your break until 7 o'clock. So I would highly recommend everyone log in right away and then proceed to a small break, not too long of a break, okay? Thank you.